Iowa's Firefighting Family is brought to you by William Penn University and Musco Lighting, who are proud to celebrate Iowa's firefighters. Hello, I'm Jack Runge, President of the Iowa Firefighters Association. More than 20,000 Iowans are firefighters, men and women putting their lives on the line to save others. 90% of those are volunteers, much like these individuals. Tonight in our program, we explore the bond that these individuals share with one another, a bond that we all describe as being like a family. We'll hear from several firefighters from across the state, see how this family gathers in good times and bad, and visit the Butler family who share firefighting as a special bond. Please enjoy Iowa's Firefighting Family.
I became a firefighter because
I became a firefighter because
I
wanted to become involved in the community.
I wanted to help the community.
I want to help people.
It gives me a great deal of pride to be able to help people.
The chance to get to help people, to save their lives and property, it's a great feeling.
I felt like I joined a new family.
It's a brotherhood that everybody's a companion of each other and they help each other out. And not only on the fire department, but they help each other out outside of the fire department too, because we all become real good friends.
There's not a single one that wouldn't come to help me, and they know that I would do the same to them.
Even if we don't know you and you're a fireman, we still help you.
Dexter's a small town, 600 people. Everybody knows that I'm part of that fire department rescue unit, and when you go to their house or you answer a call, just to have that reassuring face or that smile that they know just puts them at ease.
Supper's ready. Yeah, somebody can sit around the card table. My name is Tom Butler. I am 57 years old, and I am the first assistant chief on the Harlan Fire Department. Got 3 boys and a daughter. Chad is the first captain. Robin is a firefighter. Brad is a firefighter. Tim is a firefighter. Christy is a firefighter, and Mike is a firefighter.
Yeah, sometimes the fire call is like a family reunion.
Yeah.
Anybody that hasn't broken glass, I want to have them break the glass because it's a lot harder than what you think it is.
Tonight, all the firefighters are practicing vehicle extrication.
Yeah, use the cutter on. Yeah, yep.
Just watch where you're cutting here. If you have a seatbelt adjuster, get on that. Otherwise, you really take up the blade.
We'll have plastic
We do not only firefighting, we do vehicle extrication, we do trench rescue, we do cold water rescue, we do confined space rescue. It just goes on and on and on.
You're gonna want to strap him up quick.
The reason why fire departments are trained in so many different fields is the manpower that they have. Your city police departments or sheriff's department don't have the manpower like the fire departments do, with anywhere from 12 to 40 members. We are a very close-knit membership. It's like family. All of them are like family, from the chief down to the newest volunteer.
It's in my family.
It's in my family.
It's a family kind of ordeal.
I guess it just kind of ran in the family.
My brother was on.
Dad's been in it for 30 years.
I'm 4th generation on Center Point Fire Department.
My brother's on the fire department. My mom and dad are both on the fire department.
My grandfather, my father, my uncle, and 2 cousins before me.
My dad was a volunteer firefighter. My husband is a volunteer firefighter.
Me and one of my mentors were in a building that was getting weak, and due to my father standing outside and his past and his experiences, was able to see that the building structure was getting weak and was able to get us out of there before the building did end up collapsing.
Roger Beeson, the chief, and I worked together, and he always pestered me that I should become a member of the Harlan Fire Department.
First, he didn't really know if he wanted to join the department, didn't know if he'd have the time. He started asking a bunch of questions, and I just kept talking to him about it.
So then I thought, okay, it's good for the community, and so Roger finally talked me into joining the fire department. Joining the Harlan Fire Department really changed my life and changed the lives of my whole family, all my kids.
You get a lot of reaction when you tell people that your whole family is in the fire department. And they say, well, why didn't you join? And I said, somebody has to stay home and worry.
My name is Brad Butler.
Chad Butler, Mike Butler.
Hi, I'm Christy Peterson.
I'm Tim Peterson.
Robin Falconer. We have been married 7 years.
Our wedding is June 4th, 2011. It's just a couple weeks away now.
I've been on the fire department, it'll be 12 years this month.
14 years.
For almost 16 years.
I've been on the Harlan Fire Department for 9 years.
For 8 years.
For 23 years.
Mainly it was because of Dad. Dad's been on since we were young.
Dad asked me to join the fire department, so that's why I joined.
I became a firefighter because my brothers pushed me into it. I did fill out the application and turned it in thinking, oh boy, what am I gonna get myself into? But I've loved it since I got on.
Every time we're together as a family, they're always talking about stuff, and I hate not knowing what they're talking about, so I thought, if I join, I'll know what they're talking about then.
I joined
because I was on.
She told me I had to. I saw what her family did, how much they enjoyed being on the department, seeing them with a group of other people, and I'd follow them to calls before I got on. I'd do all kinds of stuff just to watch, see what they did, and I guess I became a junkie before I even got on.
I've never really felt any pressure. Dad's always let us, make our own decisions about what we wanted to do. And he really, I think if he didn't want us to be on the fire department, we would have got on anyway. There was one time before Dad was on the department that we did get together and fight a fire.
When we were real young kids, we were out playing in the front yard, and my dad was talking to our neighbor, and a guy drove by and threw an M80 out the window of his car, firecracker. Well, it was dry out around the 4th of July, and we lived right across the street from the cemetery. Cut 3/4 of the hill of the cemetery on fire.
Basically, the whole family ran across the road. We called the fire department, ran across the road, and worked as feverishly as we could to put the fire out with whatever we had in our hands, which was coats or rakes or towels or what have you.
We were running out with buckets of water across the street, putting out the fire before the fire department could get there.
And here we are as little kids, you know, shooting hoses across the street, putting a fire out.
By the time the fire department got there, we had it pretty much knocked out.
So see, I have done my time as a firefighter, and then I retired.
We do this to help other people out because we know the feeling of what it's like to lose somebody.
My grandmother passed away in a fire in her home, it'd be almost 20 years ago now.
Grandma Emma lived alone in a house in Portsmouth. Fell asleep on the couch. The exhaust fan in the bathroom was on, overheated, started on fire. Finally, somebody noticed a puff of smoke coming out from the eaves, and they called the Portsmouth Fire Department.
That night that I heard it over the scanner, Tom was at the fire department, and I tried to call there right away and say, Grandma Emma's house is on fire in Portsmouth, I'm leaving. And he had already heard it too through his pager, and we were all over there. And I think it was very hard for him to stand on the sidelines and not be able to go in and do anything that night. She was 86 when she passed away in that fire. Mike said after that, I will become a firefighter and help people out.
You know, it's a very hard emotional deal, and that was just kind of that point for me where I decided I didn't want to have other people, you know, have to experience that.
That's always in the back of all of our minds. You know, when we're going to a structure fire, is there may be someone in there and we want to save them. We don't want that to happen to anybody else.
A future brother-in-law.
A friend of mine.
It was a grass fire.
A double fatality.
Killed by a drunk driver.
Anytime there's a death, it hits you pretty hard.
Kev is a guy that we lost last year.
You know, just out coming back to Strawberry Point, and the next thing you know, they're a deceased person.
Usually a lot of times the ones that stick with you a little longer is the ones that you couldn't help.
It makes you think that life is worth living because it can be very short at times.
It's a really big adrenaline rush, and it's just one of the most amazing feelings you will ever feel.
Once that pager goes off, it's just all excitement from the start. Come down to the fire hall and get in the trucks and go out. It's just a feeling that a lot of people, you know, they don't get to experience.
Stand at the driveway.
You know, you're really excited to get there and help do whatever it is you have to do, whether it's me, I like to be on the nozzle to put out a fire, or I like to be right up there, you know, by the patient or helping extricate when there's an accident.
It's a rush. It's a rush. I mean, like I say, I've had 4 kids, and I mean, it's a rush having kids, you know, being there for their birth and all that, but this is just, it's awesome. You get the adrenaline going. Depending on the nature of the call, you know, you're starting to think, well, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that.
Shelby County First Assistance 1076. What goes through my mind being an assistant chief is finding a way to resolve the situation as safely as I can for my firefighters. You don't want to have a firefighter injured. And that's where your experience and your training kicks in. And being on the fire department, you know, as long as you have been, you know what you need to do.
There's always a level of nerves involved. I think you have to be scared, because if you're not scared, then you're going to be reckless, and you shouldn't be doing it anymore.
You get in a dark, dangerous place where you don't know that fire's at yet, it makes you quite a bit scared.
I remember my first big call very well. It was a huge propane tank. Everything was on fire when I got there, and it was like a 100-degree day. When I got out of the truck, I got with another guy and we were right up at the fence line by these buildings. It was very hot. That's the biggest thing I remember. I remember pulling up my Nomax hood to cover my face because it was so hot. And so we were trying to spray the fire out, and all of a sudden the propane started expelling out of the tank, and it was like the biggest blowtorch I had ever seen in my life. I, of course, being one of my first calls, got very scared and ran behind the truck because I was very scared. I thought that that was gonna blow us all up or something. So the guy always teases me about that I was on the hose line with, you know, you were gone before I even got the hose put down.
Being a woman, I think it's really hard.
It can be a little frustrating at times, feeling like you have to prove your worth on occasion.
It was hard. I had to earn my respect.
I think you definitely have to work a little bit harder.
Well, I feel when I started that I didn't get the respect that I needed or deserved.
I had one of my students who was a big guy, probably 6'4", 6'5", 250, 300 pounds, tell me he wouldn't go into a building with me because I couldn't get him out. And I pointed out that there wasn't probably anybody in that class that could get him out.
Women need to get into it more, I think.
I'd like to see more women get into the fire service.
I'm the only woman on the fire department.
We're just as qualified and capable as the guys.
We went up to this big cabin fire up in Troy Mills, and explorers aren't supposed to touch a hose, or, you know, we're the gophers, we have to get all the tools and stuff. And one of the higher up guys, I guess you'd say, you know, didn't have any help, so he told me to go over and sit on a hose and put it on a propane tank that was really close to the heat. And, you know, every time he sees me, that almost makes me want to tear up, but he always is pretty proud of me, so.
Because I am only 5'2", I got pushed up through a little hole in the attic, and so me and another firefighter went up and put it out.
Now I'm one of the deputy chiefs of Centerpoint Fire, and it's really kind of cool because I'm one of the youngest females that's ever held an officer's position.
You know, they don't think that women can do the job. It's a man's world, but I earned my respect. Like I said, I got my instructor and my Firefighter 2 certification, and I'm one of the guys now.
We are doing water ball right now. The goal here is to make sure that the barrel ends up on the opposite end. Yeah, a lot of people travel and do it every weekend, and so yeah, it takes a lot of practice. It's not something you can just do.
The real reason they have a convention is to have contests for towns throughout Iowa that compete, and also they have their annual business meeting on Sunday morning. The unofficial reason is just to get together for fellowship and good times with a lot of fire departments throughout Iowa that we don't normally see throughout the year. Talk about good times and our experiences together.
We're all a big family and everybody knows everyone. It's just awesome.
I have been going for 30 years. You know, I've met a lot of people throughout the state that I never would have met anywhere else. You know, firefighting is, we're kind of like a brotherhood. You know, we're all here for the same reason. And when you go from one community to another, it's just like you're at home. You look at your equipment and talk about what you have and how your operations are, and we all get along, you know, fairly decent.
I guess they can be relaxed more because of the trust and confidence we have in one another. They grew up together, and I, was there to raise them. They know their potentials and their limits.
I have trust in a lot of people that are on this department, but yeah, I would say that being with family makes it a little less nerve-wracking.
There's not a problem with any of them going in with any brother or sister to do what's needed to be done.
I definitely trust any of my brothers or my dad. Probably the most on the department, Tim too, I suppose. If we're on a scene, I try to stick with my brothers. I don't know, done that my whole life, I guess.
It shouldn't make a difference, but just how close a family is, you know that your back's covered and that things are going to go smooth no matter what happens.
And the fire department really is a big family, all in its own, but I think we have more to lose if something bad were to happen, really.
I think our oldest boys think it's pretty cool, and our daughters think it's pretty cool too that their mom's in the fire department, but I also think they have a worried factor too when we go to a fire call, that we're both there and if something ever happens to us.
The boys know that something bad happens and we both left.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that Mom worries quite a bit while we're out on the scene, being the only one left behind and not knowing exactly what's happening out there.
There's been some anxious times. You know, you always wonder, how long is this one going to take, or what's this one going to involve? When you hear maybe sometimes that someone's been injured at a scene, or if it's been so hot that somebody's been overcome with heat exhaustion or something, you always worry, I hope that isn't one of mine.
James D. Carpenter, Davenport. Lyle Chamberlain, Muscatine. Bob Choate, Lake Mills. Robert B. Fowler, Oxford Junction. Donald Henry Fallenkamp, Montezuma. Laverne Conrad, Dyersville.
We're driving through middle of Michigan, and my wife was driving. I was about half asleep, and there was a sign that said Firefighters Memorial with an arrow. They had a statue there, and it was like a firefighter that was dressed in turn-of-the-century gear, and he had a little girl in his arm and holding an old lantern in his hand, you know. And I just said, you know, that's kind of cool. Sometime Iowa should have something like that. It's incredible. From where it started, it's just, I'd have never believed it. It's just incredible. It's a very special place for the firefighters of Iowa and for the families of these deceased firefighters. I mean, we've got people that have spent 25, 35, 50 years on a fire department, and they pass away, and you know, it's like, yeah, they need to be remembered.
Firefighters are family. We really are family. We're there for each other to fire, and when one of us passes away, that's a loss to our family, and we need people to get together to share that common feeling. People that aren't part of it really don't understand, but it is a family loss. You just really feel it.
everybody on the department, you're like brothers and sisters. You're taking each other's lives in your hands every time you go in with them. For anybody to volunteer their time to be a firefighter, in my eyes, you're a hero. I mean, at some point in time, no matter what it may be, you're saving somebody's life, you're saving somebody's property, you're making sure a person can go on the next day. You know, we go out and help people, we save people's lives, we make sure dad can still go home to their kids or mom can still go home to their kids.
Who taught you how to crawl? How to do that?
We have 13 grandchildren, and they range in age from 12 to 3 months.
I've got one child, 2-year-old. He's great. Yeah, it really excites me to hope that in the future he's going to become a firefighter, because you know it's something that my dad and I have as a bond together, and hopefully someday in the future that Alex and I have that bond.
I told Logan a long time ago that he's a butler, so he has to become a firefighter. It's in the blood.
We have 2 children. Andrew definitely, for sure, he already says he wants to be a firefighter. Madison, someday I could see her being a future firefighter also.
I've been a firefighter for over 2 decades. Some of my kids have been firefighters for over a decade. I feel that they will continue on as firefighters and their children will pick up on their activities, and I definitely think that we're going to have future generations of the butlers as firefighters. If you want to dedicate yourself to helping others, helping your community, this is a place to be. It's going to demand a lot from you, but it's very rewarding. A lot of times you don't get a thank you for what you've done, but then there's other times that you do get a very heartfelt thank you. I never have regretted being a member of the fire department. Knock on wood, I hope I never will.
Iowa's Firefighting Family is brought to you by William Penn University and Musco Lighting, who are proud to celebrate Iowa's firefighters.